Harry Potter is a universe personified by friendship, love, determination, chocolate frogs, flying things, snarky witches,
It's Leviosa.
and underdogs like Neville. Hi Neville. And of course, magic ties all of those things together. But as with anything, the yin-yang makeup of magic is crucial to its existence, which is to say, for every nice spell, there's a seemingly horrible and dangerous one. Welcome back to the Binger, guys, and in today's video, we'll be counting down the 10 most dangerous Harry Potter spells. So, if you've got an invisibility cloak handy, better use it now and make yourself scarce. Also, there's some deadly curses in this list, so, spoiler alert, you have been warned.
Bloody hell!
Kicking off our countdown is something that may sound pretty tame, but in the wrong hands, it's far from it. Popular amongst younger, inexperienced witches and wizards, Petrificus Totalis, or the full body bind curse, could be considered a very passive-aggressive way of taking down an enemy or someone in your way. This spell freezes the subject in place, binding their arms and legs at their side, resulting in them falling to the ground. Now, aside to the whole falling backward health and safety aspect of it, let's not go there. Who's to say the usefulness of this spell stops at defense? I mean, seriously, if an evil witch or wizard wanted to seek revenge on someone, freezing their subject in place with the ability to hear, see and feel, but not move, would serve up a pretty tempting opportunity for torture. Even Draco Malfoy takes a cheap shot at Harry when he uses it on him on the train. Imagine what someone like Voldemort or Bellatrix Lestrange might do. We see it used a few times throughout the Potterverse, most memorably on Neville in Sorcerer's Stone when he tries to stop Harry, Ron and Hermione. It's a great non-violent alternative, that's if you're a non-violent person. This is another spell that may seem relatively harmless in the grand scheme of things, but if done incorrectly or by someone with an insidious agenda, it can prove tragic. The Obliviate memory charm has been used by the Ministry of Magic for years, mostly to keep the hidden world of witches and wizards a secret. If a muggle witnesses something they shouldn't, then Obliviate comes to the rescue and removes that memory. It was used on the people involved in the construction of the Hogwarts Express, for obvious reasons. It was even used on a mass scale during Fantastic Beasts, in which a Thunderbird helped facilitate the spell via raindrops, obliviating the entire nomad population of New York. But imagine if it went wrong, and instead of erasing one specific incident, you ended up erasing huge chunks of a person's past. We have seen it used successfully on individuals multiple times. It was used on Jacob in order to make him forget his time with Newt and Queenie. And of course, we saw Hermione use it on her own parents to erase the memory of herself. But we've also seen it go very wrong. Gilderoy Lockhart tried to use it on Harry and Ron in the Chamber of Secrets, but due to using Ron's broken wand, the spell backfired and erased quite a bit of his own memory.
Hello. Who are you?
Not only is the spell itself extremely dangerous if it's done wrong or used for the wrong means, but undoing the spell is particularly difficult. One of the most popular ways to undo memory charms is via torture. To a spell intended purely for innocent purposes, but one that can end up quite messy. Created by seamstress Delphina Crimp, the severing charm Defindo was merely intended to help her cleanly cut fabric when dressmaking. The spell gives the user a highly efficient and clean-cut method of slicing things, and it's been used by many tradespeople in the wizarding world. It's all about wand control, so they say. But as is the case with any bladed object, be it a sword, pair of scissors, or a set of nail clippers, it's only as safe as the person wielding it wants it to be. As you may have guessed by now, the Defindo charm can be used to cut anything, including parts of humans. If you're not careful when using the spell, you can easily cut you or others around you, or even sever a limb. And if you intended on using it violently, then the spell potentially allows you to inflict blade-like injuries from a distance. So, if used to chop onions carelessly, it probably won't just be the onion itself that will make you cry. The first of our big booming showboaty spells next, and one of the most popular spells amongst most dueling wizards. Stupefy, according to Harry, is like a wizard's bread and butter, and one of the most useful spells a wizard has in their arsenal. It's able to send an opponent flying through the air, knocking them unconscious. Perfect for those who want to stop or incapacitate someone without necessarily wanting to hurt them. However, by definition, this spell can prove quite hazardous. Sending someone flying through the air into a wall or potentially off of something carries its own impact dangers. Even if it does knock you unconscious for the duration, being thrown around like a ragdoll isn't ideal. And in fact, if you are hit with the Stupefy spell repeatedly, it can actually prove fatal, and it almost did for Professor McGonagall. It's a pretty subdued attack, but it certainly has the potential to go awry. Visually, this is perhaps one of the most cliché spells, emitting a fiery orange blaze, or fireball as some may call it. Potentially an extremely threatening blasting curse, Fringo has the ability to explode a target, although throughout the Harry Potter movies, it can be seen bouncing off of targets due to their magical resistance to it. And the fact that it's a family film, and people exploding is a bit... yeah. The spell dates all the way back to the All England Wizarding dueling competition in the 1400s and was popular amongst dueling witches and wizards of the time. And the power of the attack is said to vary in strength depending on the witch or wizard that casts it. It's also suspected of being used by Peter Pettigrew to kill 12 muggles in a street in London when he was trying to escape Sirius Black. A very infamous incident, to say the least. And it's possible that the curse was responsible for the death of Fred Weasley in the Battle of Hogwarts. This spell is without doubt the most physically imposing spell on today's list, and can be summed up nicely in 2 words: Cursed Fire. First of all, this spell is incredibly difficult to control, one of the reasons it is seen so little in the wizarding world. Once Fiend Fire bursts out of a wand, the ensuing inferno gains a life of its own, and can morph into a series of deadly creatures whose one goal is to destroy anything that gets in its way. Fiend Fire is used to devastating effects in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, when after being cast by Goyle, or Crabbe if you read in the book, it destroys the Room of Requirement. And it was Goyle's lack of mastery of the spell that resulted in such destruction, as he was incapable of controlling the relentless power it possesses. The blaze Fiend Fire creates is even capable of destroying Horcruxes, one of only a few known substances that's able to do so. So why didn't Harry, Ron and Hermione just use Fiend Fire to destroy all the Horcruxes? Well, because even Hermione was afraid to use the spell due to its almost uncontrollable nature. A dark spell invented by Severus Snape for the use on enemies, as he puts it. It was hardly going to tickle, was it? Essentially taking the effects of the Diffindo spell and turning it up to 11, Sectumsempra is a slashing curse that inflicts several deep lacerations at once. Created by Snape during his time studying at Hogwarts and intended to be used on people like the Marauders, aka his enemies, the curse is much more than a warning shot. It can actually be fatal if the victim is not given immediate attention to stop the bleeding. Its vicious effects can be seen when Harry uses it on Malfoy in The Half-Blood Prince, although at the time Harry didn't know the effects of the spell and he's seen to be visibly shaken at its devastation. The spell was also responsible for the loss of George Weasley's ear in the Battle of the Seven Potters, courtesy of an off-target Sectumsempra spell by Snape. This is when things start to get really interesting. The Imperius curse, or Imperio as the caster will utter, is the first of the 3 unforgivable curses. The punishment for using one of these curses is a life sentence in Azkaban. The Imperius curse allows the caster to control the actions of its victim, be it following orders, committing crimes, or even committing suicide. Of course, much like some of the other dangerous curses on this list, the perilous effects of the Imperius curse are very much down to who is in the driver's seat. There are countless examples of it being used throughout magical history, and unfortunately, most use it for evil. In fact, it's used as an excuse by many magical criminals who claim that they were under the curse when they commit certain crimes. How convenient. It doesn't always have a violent outcome, however. Harry can be seen using the Imperius curse to control Bogrod the Goblin in order to gain access to Gringotts. His intentions were obviously non-lethal, although in his euphoric state, Bogrod did end up getting a little too close to a dragon and found himself burnt to a crisp. But it's collateral damage like this that highlights the dangers of mind control, and why it is deemed as one of the worst spells imaginable by the wizarding world. No matter who uses this curse, good or evil, their intentions are clear: cause as much pain as possible. Although it does seem that the more sadistic the caster, the more effective the curse is. The Cruciatus curse, or Crucio, is the second of the unforgivable curses, and is intended to inflict as much pain as possible to a victim without physically hurting them. It's known as the torture curse for a very good reason. Well-known accounts of this curse being used include Bellatrix's torture of Hermione in Malfoy Manor, and Voldemort's torture of Harry in the Goblet of Fire. In the book, Harry says that the pain of the Cruciatus curse was comparable to his bones being on fire, and that he felt like his head was going to split apart along his scar. Perhaps the most famous use of the curse, however, was that involving Neville Longbottom's parents. The Longbottoms were subjected to the curse by 4 Death Eaters in order to discover Voldemort's whereabouts. They used the curse on them so much that it mentally affected them and drove them insane. Topping our list is the most deadly and despised of all the unforgivable curses, and as spells go, it doesn't get any more final than a killing curse. With Avada Kedavra, there's no elongated torture, strange rituals, or particularly exciting visuals. The caster merely points their wand at their target, utters the words, sees a flash of green light, and watches them drop to the ground dead, provided they are powerful enough to cast the spell, that is. Its use can be seen in many significant points in history, and it is largely regarded as Voldemort's signature spell due to the frequency in which he used it. Of course, one of the most significant and infamous uses of the curse was the killing of Harry's parents by Voldemort. And Voldemort also attempted to kill Harry at the same time, but it didn't work, hence the Boy Who Lived moniker. Ultimately, upon casting the spell at Harry in Deathly Hallows Part 2, the effects of the curse were reversed due to the allegiance of the Elder Wand, and Voldemort effectively killed himself. It says a lot that the only way to avoid the deadly effects of this curse is by A, having someone sacrifice their own life, or B, splitting your soul into multiple pieces. Yikes. So, which dangerous spell is your favourite? Did we miss any important spells out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Binger YouTube channel for more awesome videos like this. See you next time.